Welcome everyone, and we are so happy that you're joining us today for our virtual coffee house. I'm Lisa Couch, and since I teach journalism, I'm representing the student newspaper, the Glacier, which is one of the sponsors of this event. And my fellow organizers are Troy Swanson and Tish Hayes, who are representing another sponsor, which is the library. And then we have kind of a joint effort between the Glacier, the library, and the communications department. So you'll hear more about that in a little bit. But we are very excited to showcase student voices today in honor of National Poetry Month. And this is the second year for this event. So it's designed to celebrate the power of poetry. And we hope that next year we will be able to hold it in person so that we can socialize and really make this a community event. We hope to showcase some of our Moraine musicians next year and just actually enjoy some coffee and treats together, though I do have my coffee. I hope you have yours. Welcome to the Coffee House. National Poetry Month was launched more than 25 years ago by the American Academy of Poets. And the goal was to remind the public that poets have an integral role to play in our culture and that poetry matters. Over the years, National Poetry Month has become the largest literary celebration in the world, with tens of millions of people marking poetry's important place in our lives. And last year, the American Academy of Poets saw a 116% increase in traffic to its website. So that's kind of amazing. That's the largest increase in its history. And this swell of interest in poetry, I think, says something about our hunger for meaning in these difficult times. Probably National Poet Laureate Amanda Gorman helped with that as well. I think that art has always helped us to make sense of the world. And the poets that you're going to hear today demonstrate the power of art to help us come to terms with different aspects of the human experience, from love to loss to violence, all different topics. So we have some great poetry to showcase today. To enter our poetry contest, the poets submitted a video of themselves reading their work, and then these videos have been uploaded to the library's website. So, and actually I think the YouTube channel for the library as well. And so if you want to check them out again, you can go to that. We had 15 great poems submitted this year. That's a little more than last year. And so we love that, and we hope that the event will continue to grow each year. Be sure to stick around until the end of the event. So, because that's when we will be announcing the winners of 3 awards: the grand prize, the runner-up, and best performance. So a special thank you to our judges, which were librarian Alicia Diaz, the award-winning editor-in-chief of the Glacier, Mariah Trujillo, and communications and literature professor Carrie Millsap-Spears, who you're going to hear from in just a minute. So thank you to those judges, and they really put a lot of thought into choosing the winners of the contest. But they're not the only judges. So as an audience member, you have an important role to play as well, because this year we've added a Student Choice Award. And so you will have a chance to vote live during our event for your favorite among the finalists that we're showcasing today during our coffee house. So as you're listening, you might want to make a note of your favorites and kind of decide what your ranking is, and you'll be able to see if you agree with the judges or if you have a different take on things. Tish, I think you are going to explain how the voting works, so I'll turn it to you.
Sure. Actually, it's a poll everywhere. So when we're ready to vote, you can, I'll have a screen share so that you can see how to join. I'll drop a link in the chat as well if you want to join that way. And the poems and poets are in the order that they'll be presented to you today. So kind of, as Lisa said, take note of who you like, and then their poems will show up and you'll be able to vote either by text or through a link that we'll put in the chat.
Lisa, I think you're muted.
Always the mute. It's like the theme of the last 2 years, right? Oh, your mute is on. Anyway, Troy, I'm hearing from our other poet that it's not allowing her to join the WebEx without her camera being on. So I don't know. She's asking if you could add her email so she can join that way. I don't know.
Sure.
So, all right. Well, hopefully we can get that sorted out. And so, yeah, be looking out for your favorites. And we are going to get this party started with one of our judges. So in addition to being a professor of communications and literature at Moraine Valley, Carrie Millsap Spears is a published poet and has an MFA in creative writing. And she's also an expert on all things Star Trek. And she is she researches popular culture and the Gothic, and she has an upcoming book coming out related to that. And she uses her expertise on pop culture in her teaching. So I'm sure that her classes are very interesting and fun. But she's here today to share some of her poetry with us. So Professor Millsap Spears, take it away.
Thank you, Lisa. Wow, that seems like a lot. I'm just a teacher at heart. Yes, I love Star Trek. I will admit to that. I will cop to that. So I have quite a few little poems for you today. I got maybe 6, so I don't know if that's too many, but they're quite short. And I will start with the 3 most recent that were published. This was from the Indiana University Northwest journal called Spirits, and I have 3 in here. So I will read these for you. The first one is called Ashes. My mother's townie, and I'm Willow, my sister's in ashes. When Ashes was here, Townie lived like Fat Tuesday, eating punchki and donuts, never thinking about the lean Lent to come. After Ashes left, I tried to hide the smear of the dirty cross, my shoulders bent in a devoted stoop. My sister's urn still sits in the center of the table. I can never forget what's inside. Townie leaves us alone most days. Other times, she hovers. There's no escape. She's gone now, my Townie, but my ashes remain. And that was sort of a sort of modernistic thing. So I actually helped volunteer for a creative writing group here in my hometown. So every Wednesday we gather, not this Wednesday, obviously, and do little writing prompts. And so one of the prompts was to choose any book off the shelf and pick the 7th line, take a few words off that line, rearrange them into a poem, and that's what happened. So it actually was kind of fun. This one is probably one of my favorites. It's called Down Low Vampire. A truck stop vampire wears plaid instead of black. Long ago, he traded his velvet cravat for soft denim. He sits perpetually alone and keeps a gentle lookout for his next ride, his next bite. His doe eyes downcast lure the uneasy ones, the cloistered ones, the ones who never talk or cry out. This vampire knows which trucker to touch, to track, to ask for a lift. His hunting instincts sharp, hardened, calculated. He runs his tongue over the tip when the right one comes along. So that one made me laugh. And so this is the last one from this publication. This one is a poem about a painting. So that's another thing that a lot of creative writers do, is take a painting and write a poem about it. And so this one is actually one that you probably will recognize. It's called The Princess of Denmark. As Ophelia floats down a river, slowly swallowed by pansies and rosemary, the artist lingers a little longer. He adds a cherry-tainted paint to her quiet mouth, while the lily pads join over her now closed legs, hastening her demise. Leisurely, he wipes his brushes and strokes his chin. He admires a silent would-be woman whose time was short, but life was long. He leaves her to wait alone, to lie frozen in time, her anguish everlasting. The first time I saw her, I listened to her stifled cry, illuminated under the bright white light. She beckoned me to join her in her still moment up on the museum wall, to sidle up, to unwind her secret greenery, to share her stage. But she was too powerful, and I just drowned in her wake. This is another one, just a short one. It's called True Love. This was published in the National University's publication. I want to say 2017-ish. True Love. A love full of sweat and regret gives the illusion of greatness, vastness, timelessness, but is none of those. It's messy and vengeful. This love's hot, but not the subject of storybook pages or promposals. This kind of love distorts and humiliates. It objectifies and lies. This kind of love outlasts us all. And then my final little grouping comes from Great Lakes Review and the Community College Humanities Association. So this poem I'll read now was published in Great Lakes Review a couple years ago, 2017, called A Coven in a Small Town. So I have a series, I have 3 poems that all deal with sort of metaphysical and sort of occult imagery, and this is the first one. A Coven in a Small Town. Meet every Thursday night across from the pizza joint and the all-night gas station. One by one, they enter a rundown strip mall space and suck in the flavored smoke slinking off the incense stick. Behind the industrial glass door, that coven gathers in secret to learn the old arts and to buy new, mass-produced and overpriced supplies. Everything here seems desirable, where twinkle lights temper the glowing overhead fluorescence. One day a week, they practice divination, recite incantations, and trade homebrew recipes before putting children to bed and watching a little TV. Leaving together, 13 weekday witches, living nowhere special, wave at the local folks, filling up while cackling off into the night. This one was the second one of that series. This was published in Community College Humanities Review last year. It's called The Fortune Teller. Linger over my palm and uncover the secrets in the folds, the lines. Hold my hand tighter and squint to see the truths about me, my life story still changing, evolving as the indentations grow faint or deep with time. Now let me tell your fortune. Your story shows fate's mark and the times you have loved, a lifeline of misery, mystery, and discontent. Soon, too soon, the carnival will fold and take you away from me, and your lines say to hurry. So we must grasp our hands together and follow the heart line, a broken arrow, mended when our hearts meet. And I want to end with a brand new poem, recently written in the last month, to kind of finish out this sequence. So I'll just run it by you. You can tell me if you like it or not. It's called A Brigid's Snowdrop. Halfway through winter brings the promise of Ostara, when spring gently wakes a silent land, newly dressed with budding rowans and willows. These trees will flourish, well nourished by the returning sun. For now, though, we wait. We must honor her who is maiden before she becomes mother. Her womb, ripening with blackberries and ginger, widens with each hour of blooming light. Seek Brigid, the maid, and the candles at the altars and in the snow. Her luminous face brings us new hope. Thank you.
So wonderful, and the imagery, and it seems like, and by the way, if anyone has any questions for Professor Millsap-Spears or thoughts, feel free to type them into the chat. But, you know, I was noticing that a lot of your poems, or most of them, are, you know, creating this fictional character and, you know, as the speaker and from that point of view. And is that something kind of that you set out to do, or did it just sort of come naturally, you know, based on your other interests and things?
Well, I love to write in persona, so I think it definitely is part of that. I have another one that I really love that I keep sending out and it keeps getting rejected. So I feel like there's something, you know, there's something not quite right with it yet, but I wrote it when I was standing in front of a monument. So I was in Boston, and it was the monument to the soldiers from Boston who were fighting in the Civil War, and it was the first all-Black regiment. And I wrote a poem in persona as the Robert Gould Shaw was the commander of that regiment. And so I wrote a persona thinking about his wife, because I had gone to this lecture when I was there, and I was in an event, and someone said that they were married and for like 2 days before he left, and that she you know, he goes in, spoiler alert, he dies in the war. They all die in the war, sorry. And she was so distraught that she moved from Boston, and I think she moved to England or somewhere in Europe, and just was in mourning for the rest of her life. I think she was 19 or something, you know. And so I wanted to, you know, kind of inhabit her. What would she feel like standing there looking at that? And that's kind of when it started. And so I just kind of just like that feeling. What does it feel like to be the outsider looking at these situations, or pretending to be in the situations? And I don't know, I really, really enjoy it. I do have a couple that are more personal. I didn't read, but you know, if we have time and people want to hear, I do have a couple that are a little bit more, one about me learning how to drive in a cemetery, which is a true story. So, but other ones, yeah, definitely persona. You know, kind of like, you know, My Last Duchess, you know, it's kind of like a long tradition of those kind of poems that, you know, they definitely have an effect.
Yeah, I love that. I love hearing kind of the source of your inspiration, and how like a little moment like that can, you know, lead to your artistry and you know, inspire you. So yeah, that's wonderful. And how great to be able to hear you know, one of our faculty members with her poetry. And that's kind of the spirit behind this event, is that it's a, you know, really to develop us as a writing community, and just have that connection and that community feel. So it's fun to, and exciting to hear, you know, a faculty member read, and we're also going to hear some students read. So, and to share this all together. So yeah, awesome. So actually that leads us to our student poets, and we are, there were some of them that were unable to be here today due to work or other demands. And so we are sharing some of our finalists' work well, our idea was, our intention was to play the video, but there's some conflict between WebEx and playing our first video. So we are actually kind of MacGyvering this situation, and I'm going to have Troy Swanson play the video of our first poet, but we're just going to be able to hear it because he's going to play it through his phone through WebEx. So it's amazing the things we can figure out, right? You know, with the challenges of the last couple of years, we have to solve problems. So so first up is a poem by Zoe Whitlow called Me, the Sun, and the Moon. And so Troy, hopefully you're able to get that playing.
Yes, here we go. So tell me if you cannot hear this.
Hi, my name is Zoe Whitlow, and this poem is called Me, the Sun, and the Moon. The sky was loosely lavender, and I was in deep conversation with the sun. I asked him, "What's it like, being on the outside, looking in?" The sun smiled and then answered my question. "I see every person in the world. I see them laugh and dance and smile and celebrate. Nothing could make me happier." This comforted me. I ran my fingers through the grass that I had been laying in for quite some time. It was bright green and soft and full of life. I felt it on my exposed back. It felt cold against that hot summer day, and I thanked the sun for growing grass for me to lay on. The sky grew a deep dark blue, and I waved goodbye to the sun. With nothing to do but lay in the grass and stare up at the sky, I decided to stay a while longer. And soon I found myself in deep conversation with the moon. I asked her the same question. "What's it like, being on the outside, looking in?" This time, my companion's face did not turn up into a smile. Instead, she looked sad and scared, and in that moment, I wished I could wrap my arms around her and tell her everything was going to be all right. "I have seen a lot," she told me this matter-of-factly. "Your kind is terrifying. Your world seems empty and lonely. You kill and abuse each other, and those of you who aren't exceedingly angry are remarkably sad. I don't think I've ever witnessed a species cry as much as yours." This response was not one that I expected, but when I really thought about it, it made sense. Wherever the sun was, it was daytime. It was bright and beautiful and happy, and people smiled and went outside and made memories. But wherever the moon was, it was night. Most people were asleep, and often those who were not had intentions darker than that of the pupils in their eyes. She witnessed everything that happened in the dark. I felt such pity for the moon. I felt such shame in my species. I wanted to tell everyone to stop what they were doing, to stop killing everything that lives, to stop living in a way that kills, to stop thriving off of the destruction that we cause. But there was nothing I could do, because no one cares about me, or you, or the sun, and definitely not the moon. Thank you.
That was awesome to be able to hear that, even though we couldn't see the video. But yeah, what a great poem, and nice to include that in our program. So next up, we have someone here to read, and we have one of our poets, Nick Stolga, is reading his poem Omnia. So Nick, take it away when you're ready.
All right. This is my poem, Omnia. Here we go. You are nothing but a mold to fill, a box to seal shut and lock away. Hang up the keys next to your coat after coming through the door. You are the void in my heart. Endless emotion recoils deep inside. Just a part of me I'll never fill or figure out how to behave. It can't be justified by reason. I have no spine, I am yours to mold. My eyes are glass. My eyes are full of my tears, filling up my glass. There's nothing perfect in this world, but that can change for you. I can fit inside your mold and shape myself how I see fit. I'll be your everything, Omnia. It can't be justified for no reason. The trees are bending in the breeze. I can't believe they haven't yet been ripped from the earth. I open my eyes and gaze at your power, and sit in the foyer, risking it all, right next to your mold, just another hand to hold. Your palms are sweet, they taste like Coca-Cola and poison relief. As I sit in my seat, I feel the breeze, bending the trees and forcing the earth up from itself. I must leave you in passing, my sweet tradition, a staple of my love, lost in the waves, angels above, calling and passing, offering love. The mold is already set, it fits like a glove. Next time you see me, fill up my mind with poison, words dripping from me. You are my relief, to you I cling to. You are my dark, my light, my young, my old. You are my mold. Fit me as I see fit, as I listen to the Coldplay song drift into the distance. Car radios blasted, eardrums baked. Radiohead on the speakers, my soul to break. You are my crevice that I fit in so well, my touch, my sight, my hearing, my smell. Without you, I am nothing but pure will. I am nothing but a shoe to fit, car engine to change out, mold to, mold to fill. I am just a Russian nesting doll. Fill me up, fill me up. I am a sick corporation. Fill me up, fill me up. I am a factory machine, a mold to fill, a mold to fill. That is it. That last verse actually got cut off in my submission because I was reading it on Google Docs and I had my phone covering it. So I was like, but yeah, that's it.
I'm glad we get to hear the full thing. And I
Thank
feel
you.
like we should all be snapping because that's what we'd be doing in person, right? Uh, so, yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Nick. And yeah, I'm glad we got to hear it. It's so powerful to hear everyone's work. I just love the power of creativity. Like, there was nothing on that screen, nothing on that Google Doc that you covered up. And then there was this, it's just that in itself is so powerful and so exciting to see what's coming out of our minds and the imagery and the ideas. So very cool. All right, thank you, Nick. We are on to our next poet. And Freddie Meeper. Okay. Yeah, actually, I hope this poet is willing to read her poem. Farheen, we were planning to play a video of your poem, but we'd love to have you read it live if you're willing. The poem is A Modern Sufi Muse. So Farheen, are you able to read that for us today?
I can do that. Let
Awesome.
me just locate it because I'm caught completely off guard.
Yes, sorry about that. We were actually thought that you weren't going to be able to make it today, so we were prepared to play your video, but we're very thrilled that you're here and would much rather hear you read it live if that will work. So
Well, I'm glad I was able to come.
yeah.
Should I give any kind of like intro like I did in the other one, or just go
Sure,
with
that'd be great.
So this is a poem I wrote in the Sufi tradition, and Sufism is a sect of Islam, or like a subset kind of thing, and it emphasizes the relationship of a person with the divine, like a personal relationship. So, modern Sufi muse. My beloved sends me smiley faces on my cell phone as I drive to the office in the morning, making me wish yet again that I worked closer to home. He whispers to me, a tease, mocking my lack of understanding while I frantically write papers and study into the night. He forwards me emails promising bad luck if I break the chain, or telling stories of little children using jars of pennies for Christmas presents that bring tears to my eyes. He peeks around corners and laughs at my attempts to save money with coupons I've clipped from the Sunday paper as I push my cart through the grocery store. He calls me incessantly when I'm working as my boss stands over my shoulder, watching me closely. I pretend not to recognize the number. He waits for me patiently when I get home, feeling tired, hungry, and beaten, wanting to brush my teeth, slip on my PJs, and collapse into my bed. He takes me into his arms and breathes dreams into me as I sleep. I fly in cloudless blue skies, soaring with countless white birds, and gaze into green fields of corn. He nuzzles my cheek as I walk sandy shores, swim in luminous seas, until my alarm goes off, the snooze button just outside of my reach. That's it.
Awesome. And thank you so much. You did a fabulous job of reading, especially considering you were put on the spot. We're glad that you're able to participate and to read your poem for us. So thank you to Farheen. And our next poet, let's see here. We have another of our poets reading live, and that is Bayan Ahmad. So Bayan is going to read the poem Forget Your Name. So Bayan, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, I'm gonna read Forget Your Name. Your world in a single-handed hand, and your life must be just like my own. It's not what I'm living for. I know you've been around. I've been around too. And I know what I need. Forget your name. Forget your dignity. This is what you are. Now you've got the nerve. You've got the nerve. It's just a shame. Won't you just let me talk? Talk about the things that I want to hear? And I'll be there to hear you laugh, to see you smile. Well, it's gonna be a long time. Now it seems like much lately. Hold me close and tell me you love me. Think how much I need you now. And that's it.
Nice, thank you. Have you been writing poetry long, Bayan?
Not long.
So what inspired you to enter the poetry contest?
My professor posted it on our Canvas page that it would be a good opportunity to try. And I thought I would take the opportunity and try.
I love that. I mean, you're in school and like try different things, and poetry is a great thing to try. So I'm so glad that you're part of this and part of this community today. So thank you for sharing. Okay, so next we have another video submission from one of our finalists, Ren Terrio, with the poem A Day Doesn't Go By. So I'm going to turn it over to Troy to play the video of Ren because Ren was not able to be here today.
All right, here we go. If you can't hear this, let me know.
That's powerful stuff. So we're thankful for Ren for sharing that, even though work commitments got in the way of being here today. So finally, for your consideration today in the Student Choice Award, we have another poet reading live, Dina Elhit. And here is Dina with her poem, My Beloved Palestine. Dina, you need to unmute yourself. Like I said, it's a running theme. Am I the only one who's not hearing? I don't think we're getting any volume.
No, I can't hear it. It doesn't look like she's muted either. Does WebEx have your permission for your microphone?
It will be nice to be back in person on these things. Carrie, do you have another poem you want to share for a minute while we're trying to see if Dina can get this sorted out?
Sure. Would everybody like to hear about how I learned to drive in the cemetery? So that's always that's a party starter right there. So this one is called Life Lessons. I grew up in a town without a park. We only had a cemetery where I meander through headstones and around large oaks instead. There were no swing sets or merry-go-rounds or teeter-totters either. Just open spaces and curved paths woven like passages between the living and the dead. Sometimes I read the names chiseled into the granite, admiring cut flowers drooping in stands, a blackened rose here, a lonely daisy there. In autumn, the leaves would be knee-deep, crunching and breaking beneath my feet, the noise shattering the still world below. When I was older, Dad said that it would be safe to learn to drive there, along the grassy blacktop, buckled and broken with the spring thaws. Don't worry, he said, all the people here are already dead. I swung the old Ford around the many haunted lanes for a few weeks before attempting to drive with the living. So that's definitely not persona. That definitely happened.
That's so good. I love the line about these people are already dead. So you can't do any more damage to them. Um, so why did you learn to drive in a cemetery? It was just open roads and no
I think
traffic.
my father thought that was a great idea. I don't know. I wish I would have asked him. That would have been a great question. But it was sort of like the space that we had. So I grew up in Michigan City, Indiana, and nowadays people know about it because there's an outlet mall and whatever. But 100 years ago when I lived there, there really wasn't a lot of things there. And there's a huge city cemetery in the middle of where we lived. And honestly, everyone used it as the park. That was the walking trail. That was people ride their bikes and do skateboard like that. I mean, it was the place that everybody went because it was like Central Park or something, and that's all we had. You couldn't walk dogs in there, which I appreciated because, I felt like that was, respectful. But I thought, walking and talking and visiting, all the folks there, whatever. But for whatever reason, he thought, well, you should just drive the car there. There's roads, so let's go. So,
I love that. And I love your description of it, kind of like the cemetery is just, it's almost like the dead are just part of the community, and everyone's there and socializing with each other, and so are the ghosts. And so, yeah, that's cool.
It's really bizarre because even today, when I go visit my mother who still lives there, there are a row of houses, their backyards lead up to the cemetery. Like when you were sitting in the backyard having a barbecue or something, you would be looking into the cemetery because there's not a big fence or anything, it's just open. So it's just, but I noticed that in Massachusetts, actually, when I was in Salem, Massachusetts, there's a lot of cemeteries like that too. So I guess maybe it's not as unusual, to maybe as we might think in some of, especially communities where, there weren't a lot of parks or, were houses built up around, maybe, I don't know. But it's kind of fun.
It's kind of almost like more of a European thing or something, like maybe it's more common out east because of that, but at the same time, like if you go to any small town anywhere, there's the cemetery that's central to the town, and has been there since the beginning. So there had to be that. Maybe a bar and a cemetery, and usually now a gas station. So, and that's kind of small towns that I know from where I grew up and where my parents grew up in Montana. It's kind of like that. So, but yeah, very cool to have that moment that you're remembering of learning to drive, rite of passage in the middle of the cemetery. Very cool.
Well,
Dina, were you able to get your mic to work?
Yeah, I can't get the phone to go over as a panelist, so the phone call won't work. I wonder if you could download the WebEx app on your phone, maybe?
you're muted, Lisa.
And it's even better when I talk with my hands, as my students like to point out. So I'm over here gesturing and there's no sound. Anyway, I thought I will do some commercials while we're waiting to see if we can get Dina on WebEx with a microphone. And so I wanted to say, if these poets are inspiring you to try your hand at writing poetry, or if you poets want to learn more about it, you might think about signing up for COM 104, which is Intro to Creative Writing, and that's being offered in the fall. Or if you'd like to explore the work of other great poets from a literature standpoint, take Lit 217, which is Intro to Poetry, and that's being taught online this summer by our esteemed judge, Professor Carrie Millsap-Spears. So studying how other poets have used the language to achieve certain effects is a great way to enhance your own writing. And I really experienced that myself. At one point, I was taking a class in creative writing, and at the same time I was taking a class called The Nature of Poetry that was a literature class just all about poetry. And I loved that. I didn't do it on purpose, but taking those two classes at the same time was such a great thing, because I was able to see what these great poets through the ages had done, and then try that in my own writing. And so it really, and then it helped me to understand better the poems that I was reading, because I could see, oh, okay, that's what they're trying to accomplish here. So I highly recommend that kind of thing. Take Lit 217 this summer with Carrie Millsap Spears. And it's also being offered online in the fall with another professor. How are we doing, Dina? We getting anywhere? Almost there? Okay. Okay, one more commercial then while we're waiting. So if you'd like to try your hand at another kind of writing, sign up for one of my journalism classes. I would love to have you. In the fall, I'm teaching Journalism 111, which is called Media Writing. And so, please sign up for that. We have a lot of fun in there, and it's a very hands-on class, and we get out and cover things happening on campus, and we write a profile, and we delve into issues. And then if you'd like to learn more about being an editor of a publication, you could take COM 152, which is called Student Publications. And so students in these two courses produce the content for the Glacier, which is one of the sponsors of today's Coffeehouse event. And I am so proud of the work that these students are doing. Just last Friday, they won an unheard of 25 statewide awards, and that led the Glacier to be named Best Student Media in the state. So, join us, join the team here. In fact, one of our poetry judges who couldn't be here today, one of our 3 judges was Mariah Trujillo, and she's our editor-in-chief this semester, but she was named Reporter of the Year, and she also won for Best News Story. So we have a lot of fun, and we learn a lot together, and there are all kinds of opportunities, including things like podcasts and writing about all different topics from arts and entertainment to politics to sports. So we hope you'll join us. And we hope we can hear from Dina. We're getting any volume, Dina? We can see you and you look lovely, but
Dina said she's still downloading to her phone, so she's going to try to come in through her phone.
Okay, we'll give it a minute here. In the meantime, Nick, I know you had some other poems that you were willing to share today. Do you want to go ahead and share one now?
Or why not? I have a bunch of stuff in my notes, actually. I just like to, every once in a while when an idea pops into my head, usually at the gym is when I do a lot of my writing. But this one was actually written either today or yesterday. This is called Atheism. Show me the neighborhood where all the rich popular kids live. Show me the bridge where I burnt all my money. Show me the mountains that I climbed up the slope. Show me the fountain where I trashed my ideals. Show me God. Show me God. Have trouble finding. Show me God. Show me God. Show me God. Have nothing better. Show me God. Show me the popularity where I made my mess. Show me the judge and the jury and the circuit and the stress. Show me the paradise that's been dragged underwater. Show me the politics that I argued about and with no bother. Show me God. Show me God. Have trouble finding. Show me God. Show me God. Show me God. Nothing is for granted. Show me God. And if this world is broken, you'll show me hope. And if this hope is broken, you'll show me God. Much shorter than the other one, but thank you.
Very nice. So how did you get started writing poetry, Nick?
I actually used to post sort of songs, like I would sing it. I can't really play an instrument, so it's kind of hard to do a full actual song with all that included. But I used to do that, and most of them were kind of just off the top of the head, sort of freestyled a little bit. But then I eventually started deciding, why don't I write some of these things down? Maybe I'll have a better idea of where things are headed when I'm actually performing it or reciting it. And so I just kind of started writing whenever, usually, as I said, usually at the gym. And I don't know, I really don't edit a lot of it. I just kind of, most of it is just the first thing that comes to my mind. So it's kind of unfiltered in that way.
Yeah, it's interesting how that works, and I'd love to hear from some of our other poets to see if that's what their process might be like too. But you talk about writing or getting inspiration when you're at the gym. Like, do you carry something to write with when you're at the gym, or do you?
Okay, so
or what?
most of the inspiration comes from the music I'm listening to. Like it's kind of random. Most of the time it's when I'm either doing cardio or just taking a break, like in between sets or whatever. And I actually write all this is in my notes on my phone, so I just type all this into, and it's really easy to do it that way. Much
Yeah,
easier than and much quicker than writing it down.
yeah, not for me. I think, I'm not of the digital native generation.
Yeah.
So I'm always amazed when my students will write entire essays on their phones. I'm like, how do you do that? But I'm sure, it's just comes naturally to you
Lisa,
guys. But
can I cut in just
yeah.
for a second? And Dina, can you try on your phone now and see if that works? If we can hear you? Still, no, we still can't hear you. Hold on. Oh, we lost your phone. I had you on. Try to reconnect with your phone. Okay, sorry, Lisa. Reconnect with your phone and see if I can make you a panelist again.
So are we still not getting anywhere, or?
We're getting closer. You know what, Dina, I lied. Call my cell phone and we will do the same thing we did for Zoe's poem. I'll just hold my cell phone up. So, okay, I have your number. I'm going to call you. We'll see if we can get this to work. Good thing we're recording this so that we can look back and remember these moments when we're back face to face, and it's much easier.
Yeah. Adventures in WebEx.
You can even hear the phone ringing. Hello, can you guys say something again, Dina?
Hello? Can you hear me? All right, all right. I'm going to start now. I was born a refugee through inheritance, as I suffer the longing of my motherland, Palestine. 7 million indigenous peoples await our right of return, after colonizers exile us from entering our beloved land. Forbidden from eating our figs and olives planted from our ancestral natives, our connecting roots brought those varied veins and soils to life, in return feeding us, yet stolen from entering our mouths. A day will come when yearning children will return to their mothers, grabbing their holy soil once again in their hands, and as the soil falls, souls fall within their fingers, connecting the two once again. We will thrive eating our flourishing fruits for breakfast, pomegranates, olives, grapes, and figs, as our motherland has waited long to feed us once again.
Nice. It was worth the wait. Now I'm hearing myself echoing. So mute yourselves. There you go. Yeah. Thank you so much. And I know that was a lot of technical messing around to get there, but it was worth it. I'm glad we got to hear it. And, I know that must be close to your heart too, what you're writing about in the topic. So glad we got to hear that. So, all right, we are at a point where we can have the voting for the Student Choice Award. And so I think, Tish, do you want to come back in and explain a little more about how that's working? We also want to let the students know that I think, Troy, you had a Google Doc or something that you were going to share in the chat for students who need to show that they attended for extra credit. So I wanted to remind you about that. And then Tish, if you can explain again about how the voting works for the Student Choice Award.
Sure. And Troy, if you can let me share my screen, I can put the poll up so that everyone can see. And I'm dropping the link in the chat. So if you want to connect, you can click on that link, but I can also share my screen. Maybe. All right. Let me make sure I'm sharing the right thing.
Just so you know, for me, it didn't turn into like a link in the chat, but I just copied and pasted it into my browser and it popped up. So you might have to go there.
And I can, oops, I don't want to change that there. So does everyone see the Student Choice Award and the option to also text your answers? And we'll give you a few minutes to make your decision. You may have already noticed, but the options are in the order they were read. And everyone can vote.
For Nick, the one you're considering is the first one he read, called Omnia. So he read another one just now, but consider Omnia. I feel like we're, it's like American Idol, we're going to get the results after the break. And I guess that makes me Ryan Seacrest, which I don't know if everyone even knows that reference anymore.
Yes, Lisa, you are absolutely the Ryan Seacrest of Moraine Valley. I love it.
Yeah. Sometimes I make these references and the students are like, but that show's been on for a long time. So, it's still on. So maybe people grew up watching it. I don't know. My kids did. I always love when I make those references. I'll refer to something like that doesn't seem that long ago to me. And we're like, no, never heard of it. The voting is pretty easy though through the poll, so hopefully everyone got there.
Ooh. And we can leave it open for a few moments if we want to take up.
Sure.
If there's other things that we need to do, but we can just leave it open, and I can stop sharing if that is helpful. Just let me know.
Yeah, I'm trying to see what else we have on the agenda here. But I do know that Dina, you had a couple other poems that you were going to share. I know that the only way we can do it is through phone and through Troy. So I don't know if we want to try to do that again. Or Nick, you had a couple extra poems too. So do you have one that you want to give us again?
Or give me a second to find one.
Okay. Otherwise, we will
Should
Lisa, I have Dina on.
okay. Do we need to? I just don't know who votes. Do I get to vote again or not again?
Probably not the
Okay.
judges, since
Okay.
they've already had their say. So we want to
Okay.
give
Just wanted to make sure. I didn't do it, so I just wanted to make sure.
but that's yeah, that's good. But okay, so yeah, and so Troy Swanson has put the link to the Google Doc into the chat too. So if you need to show that to your professor to get extra credit, go ahead and click on that and sign in there. So, but yeah, let's listen to another of Dina's poems.
I have two. So the first one is called Out the Window, and it's just observing what's outside around me. The wind screamed as snow gusted into waves, gravity pulling down the glistening ice flakes, snow covering the cold ground upon inches, freezing the walking feet until it burned into frostbite. The cold is cruel, showering its abuse on anyone outside. Careful, the icy beauty could kill. The slippery cement ground, hungry, layered in ice, swallowed a small red car in a mound of snow, leaving 3 men and a shovel to rescue the car's freedom. A squirrel becomes confused by the slight blurred sky, calmed after the storm becomes light. It jumps from a wooden fence to a branch, far then back again to the familiar fence. I warn you, do not step inside the frozen world just yet, as the coldness felt as though it froze my blood. Then warmth called my name from afar, how much I have missed him. The wind heightened its screams to not hear my name said aloud, begging for my warmth to return to me, saved from turning into an icy statue. And the second one is I planted each step onto the dirt ground. Crunch, sounds like fragile bones breaking. The forest floor covered in toothpick branches and dead leaves. Once the color of light, full of green, now replaced into grays and blues. Nature has become cold and bitter, not shy to reveal its attitude. Bare trees become surrounding walls of skeletons. Even after confronting death, green will rebloom alive again. Flowers will awaken, decorating the forest into spring once again. Birds will chirp their songs, and walls of heat will hug your shoulders instead of the sudden hello of wind. As nature decides to change her mood again and becomes cold. As nature decides to change her mood and becomes cold again, we will then know one thing. Persephone has returned to the underworld, sending the world to frost. Sorry for.
No, it's awesome. Thanks for sharing. And yeah, I'm glad that we could make technology work well enough so we could hear you. Nick, did you find another one that you were going to share?
Sure, yeah. This one's from September of last year. It's called Acting the Part. I know you're an actor, and you haven't done and filled the spaces in between. It's a crack, it's a crevice, it's the gap between 2 balanced beams. An acrobat just pretending that the fall isn't a plea. I'm falling, hopelessly calling out for relief. In my dream state, I'm sorry if I sleep way too late. I can't help, oh, I know I've tried. Ended up selfish, not selfless, in this endless divide. What's real? What's fake? What about all your endless mistakes? If I fall, will I break? Is there an end or a second take? Just an act? Just a play? I'm getting dizzier day by day. Screaming out, calling names. Directors come and go away. I'm waiting patiently for your return out to the scene. In your dream state, you're crying, falling endlessly. You can't help yourself. You know you've tried. And the narrator came out from the inside of your mind. As I watch Act 1 pan out, I'm having questions, I'm casting doubts, and my weapon becomes the crowd, and the song they're chanting is way too loud. I knock an usher from out of my way. He falls helplessly without delay. And as I'm calling out from the stage, my heart is racing. I rise and wake. Was I just dreaming? Am I a fake? That is it.
Nice. All right. Well, I think we could probably go ahead and close the voting for the Student Choice Award. And move into the next phase of our program here. So thank you and thank you and thank you to all of the poets who shared their work today and who submitted their videos to be featured on the library's YouTube channel. And just put yourself out there. So it's not easy to put yourself out there, and we applaud your courage and your creativity. And so this is a celebration of all of the poets and just of poetry in general. So, you know, we're giving out awards, but it's really about just celebrating the power of words and the power of images and the power of creativity. And so, you know, it's a celebration of your voice. And that's such an important thing, to find your voice and, you know, to be able to put it out there in the world. You all clearly have something to say, and you're discovering interesting and moving ways of saying it. So we hope that you will continue to use your voice. But we do have one more item of business, and that is to announce the winners of the contest. Our winners will receive special gift baskets provided by the MVCC bookstore. So some interesting goodies in there. And we thank the bookstore for their support of the poetry contest. And then thank you again to our wonderful judges, librarian Alicia Diaz, award-winning editor-in-chief of the Glacier, Mariah Trujillo, that's become her whole full name now, and communications and literature professor, Carrie Millsap-Spears. So the award for best performance was based on the videos that the poets submitted to the contest. And the judges took into account things like presence, emphasis, tone, style of delivery, voice, articulation, pace, enunciation, and control of pausing. And so the award for best performance goes to, drumroll, Nick Stolga for Omnia. So congratulations, Nick. Woohoo! Great job. Then the judges also awarded a grand prize winner and the runner-up for that. And so for the poem that they chose as runner-up, one judge called it playful, charming, and oh so relatable. Another said that she liked the images and the dream sequence, and that the break from dream to wakefulness stands out. So congratulations to our runner-up winner, Farheen Dogar, for A Modern Sufi Muse, which we got to hear live today. So congratulations, Farheen. All right, and then now for our grand prize winner. One judge praised the sonic nature of the poem. Another called it clever, bitter, and sobering, and said the poem captures the haunting memory of a violent act through the eyes of the victim. The backdrop of this violence is nature, which becomes an internal voice, a witness to the violence, and a reminder of it. And so we want to congratulate Ren Terrio for the poem A Day Doesn't Go By. And I know Ren will be excited. Wasn't able to be here today, but we will share that with Ren, and so very exciting. All right, so then we have our Student Choice Award, which I'm going to turn it over to Tish Hayes to announce the results of the poll and the winner of the Student Choice Award.
Awesome, thank you. Well, this is very exciting. Thank you all for voting and for being here and presenting. So without further ado, the winner of the Student Choice Award goes to My Beloved Palestine by Dina Elhid. Excellent work.
There you go. It's worth all the technology, right? Congratulations to all of the poets and all of you for such fabulous work. Every poem just gave us something new to think about and new insights and new ways of looking at the world, which is, I think, one of the best things about poetry. It just kind of takes you, you know, like I never looked at a cemetery exactly that way, Carrie. You know, one of my favorite poems is by a poet named Billy Collins, who was a poet laureate for the United States a few years ago. And I stumbled onto him actually accidentally as I was at like a literary festival in downtown Aurora near where I live. And at the beautiful Paramount Theater, they had, you know, this poet reading. And so I went in there, it was a hot day, and I went in to this cool Paramount Theater with all its beautiful architecture and decor. And here was this man, Billy Collins, who's very unassuming looking. And he just had me, like, he had the whole audience laughing and like so engaged in everything that he said. But the one poem that sort of stuck with me is called "Another Reason Why I Don't Keep a Gun in the House," and it's all about how the neighbor's dog keeps barking, barking, barking. So you get the idea. um, but yeah, so check out Billy Collins. He's a great poet and lots of fun to read too. Anyway, thank you and congratulations to all of our poets, and thank you to the library and to the Glacier for sponsoring this great event, and to the judges for their thoughtful consideration of each poem. And thank you to all of you who attended today and choosing your favorite. So as I said earlier, poetry plays an important role in our culture and in our lives. And I just want to end by sharing one of my favorite quotes from the movie Dead Poets Society with Robin Williams. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it. So Robin Williams plays a teacher named John Keating. And at one point he says, "We don't read and write poetry because it's cute. We read and write poetry because we are members of the human race. And the human race is filled with passion. And medicine, law, business, engineering, these are noble pursuits and necessary to sustain life. But poetry, beauty, romance, love, these are what we stay alive for." You have all given us that gift today, and we thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Award winners can stop by the library to pick up their beautiful basket from the bookstore.
Awesome. All right. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.